studio here and taking his jacket off and sitting down. How are you? How are you?
Joe, making myself comfortable.
Making yourself comfortable. Yep.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much. You as well.
Thank you.
Everything go well? Haven't seen you since Christmas. You finally got the tree up, I guess, right?
Yeah, the problem is I don't have the tree down yet. It's just sitting there. It's probably going to sit there for a while.
Till June, yeah.
I've kept the lights on. They're LED lights, so they don't require a lot of electricity.
Right,
so,
right.
You know, it took so long for me to get the tree up. I figured I'll leave it up for longer, so I feel like there's been a whole Christmas season. That's my plan.
Well, the actually,
in my house.
You're supposed to leave it up, I guess, through the 6th anyway, right? I mean, that's according to the Christian rules or whatever about Christmas. January 6th is Little Christmas or something like that. So you're supposed to leave it up through January 6th. So you're covered, is what I'm trying to say. You're covered.
I knew that.
But you got till the 6th to get it down, though. After that, no more excuses.
Yeah. Well, it might be in the house for a while. I'm not sure I'm going to get to it, but I'll look at it this way. It's kind of like a big car air freshener in my house. That pine tree smell will do the house well.
Well, a lot of folks still have their trees up, and they'll look real pretty with the snow that's going to come tonight, right? My tree's still up too, so.
Yeah, so there's snow coming, Barry, as you know.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
What's the name of the storm you just said? I don't
know. It's got a name.
Some creative name.
Yeah, it does have a creative name. The weather. Do you know what it is, Tim? No. The Weather Center has not the Weather Center, but the Weather Channel has been naming storms for like the last couple of seasons, and supposedly it has this real ominous name.
It sounds like It sounds like a good name for a very strong cocktail, right? Like it's something like the Blizzard Bomb or something like that.
Yeah. They're calling it like a blizzard bomb or something. It's gonna. I guess when it reaches us, it's supposed to explode and give us a lot of snow and wind and stuff like that.
All right.
But you know what? I've been in this business for 40 years, and I know media hype. Okay, and we get it every year, right? Storm to end all storms.
We do. But you know what? So in my line of work, I've got to give. Yeah, that's what it's called, bombogenesis.
Bombogenesis.
Who at the National Weather Service comes up with a name like that? But who knows? But in any case, well, we have been doing our planning. The city has for the storm, and although it's not going to be, I think calling it a bomb, calling it a bombogenesis, or whatever the name is probably hype. I'll agree with that. We do have to take it seriously. It is big enough, and we're going to get an awful lot of snow. So we've already put a parking ban in place, which goes into effect tonight at midnight. And we started. We've been looking at it for a few days. We had a big planning meeting this morning. I think we'll be very well prepared for the storm. But even though we are prepared, there's still steps that people have to take. I think above all, every storm is different. What's different about this one is really, a couple of things. I think the two things are it's been cold for a while and it's going to be cold afterward. It's been cold for a while, and that means that the catch basins around the city have frozen water inside. So when more water flows in, it's not going to go anywhere. So we might have some street flooding. That won't surprise me. The other thing is it's going to be very cold, as you noted, for a few days afterwards. So that means that there's going to be ice everywhere. It's going to be on tree limbs, so we might see some falling branches and therefore some down power lines. So we're preparing for the possibility of power outages. And it means that our roadways, despite the city's best efforts and very effective efforts, are going to be like hockey rinks for the next few days until I guess it's going to warm up on Monday. So people should stay off the roads. So really, and we would, the more that you can do that, the more we appreciate it, the more safe everybody will be. So unfortunately, the Patriots are not on this weekend, but there are lots of playoff games. You can watch those. There are lots of other things.
I was thinking about you while I was watching that Rose Bowl game the other night, and you were standing down at the Zeitarian, Probably the best football game in history of football.
Yeah, I missed that one. Yeah. Some people probably didn't regret missing the inaugural after watching that ball game. But in any case, as far as the snow goes, we're working on it. City offices are going to be closed tomorrow.
What about schools?
I leave it to the superintendent to make that decision. I expect her to say something in the early afternoon. So we're getting close to that. So, but city offices are closed. Parking ban is in effect. Things like the zoo and senior centers will be closed. But most of the snow will be done by the end of the day. So I anticipate that we'll have the roads cleared. The roads will be icy. Anticipate really icy roads on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, but they'll be cleared of snow, and we'll be able to get, I presume, unless something unforeseen happens, that we'll be able to get back up and running on Friday slowly.
All right, so we're expecting an announcement sometime soon from the superintendent, sometime early afternoon about schools tomorrow.
Right.
My assumption would be that they're probably not going to open. I mean,
It's probably a safe bet. That's,
Yeah.
If we were in a Vegas sports book, I would be taking.
I'd be doing good. Yeah. Okay. Boy, I'll tell you, I don't recall seeing a winter that's come on so quickly and been so severe so early in the season. I mean, it's been brutal.
Well, in terms of the temperature, yeah.
Temperature's been nasty. It's been how's this? It can't be helping the shelters. I know the overflow shelter's been open almost nightly.
Yeah, we haven't had it open this much in December. I hadn't had it open before in December nearly as much as we have this winter. It got cold, really early, and well, at least compared to years in recent memory. So, yeah, that's something that we're dealing with. The homeless service provider network, which the city is part of and supports and leads, is working very hard at taking care of folks who are out in the cold. And the Sister Rose House is open. If you know people on Division Street, if you're aware of people who are out on the street, tell them to get in there, or if you need to, call the police, and the police can see to it to get them some shelter. We want to make sure that we're taking care of everybody, and that includes tonight for sure, and the next few days it's going to get really bad.
How about supplies? Any concern about supplies, food supplies, the food pantries? I mean, we must be going through a whole lot of stuff trying to feed these people that we're housing now, right?
Well, it's not that the numbers are greater necessarily. It's just that they have to come in from the cold because it's really cold. So there isn't, I mean, not to my knowledge, there isn't an issue with food right now.
Okay.
But look, we don't want people out in the cold. Whatever their issues are, we want them to to get in and not be out in elements that can kill people.
A lot of ice in the harbor yet?
Not yet. That could be coming. So
yeah.
Let's hope that doesn't become a problem. We back in 2015 we had a problem with that, and getting some boats out. Some fishing boats had to be cleared and so they could get back out to sea. It's a problem in our harbor more than most because of the hurricane dike. Although the hurricane dike is an important asset, it does close off the harbor, and so it means that ice can't float out to sea. There isn't the warmer ocean waters can't get in and warm up the harbor water. So it is sort of, because it is contained, it starts to freeze up much more quickly than open ocean water.
Any discussion about the hurricane dike closing the gate at this point?
Yeah, we always keep an eye on that. The Army Corps closes it when it gets above 4 feet above mean high tide. So it could happen. We're expecting some rough seas and some high winds, so it wouldn't surprise me if they have to do that. But they monitor that very closely.
So were you in touch? I assume you're in touch with MEMA, the Massachusetts Emergency Management.
We are. So through our Emergency Management Director, Brian Nobriga, who's doing a really good job, has really jumped into that position with both feet. We stay in touch with MEMA and monitor a variety of forecasts so that we can get it right. The forecasts matter not just in terms of how much snow we're going to get, but as I said, how cold it's going to be afterward. If it all of a sudden was going to start raining tomorrow, we probably wouldn't be putting down as much product, as we say, on the roads, salt and magnesium chloride, because it would all wash away. But because we know that it's going to remain cold, we'll put more down. We know that the winds are high. We know that, and there's going to be freezing. We presume that there will be tree limbs that fall. So, having a precise forecast matters to us as we determine which resources to put into play and where and so forth. We
oftentimes find ourselves on the snow rain line, and sometimes we'll get a little bit of rain here while others will get snow. Is any thought on that?
I think there was some talk of that. It doesn't look like that's going to happen.
No, so it appears as though it's going to be. So is it better all one as opposed to a mix?
I like rain better than snow.
You like rain better than snow, but snow as opposed to a mix, does that make any difference? Especially with the freeze that's going to follow. I would imagine wet snow is going to be.
Well, it will, and we may get a little bit of that. It's going to be incumbent upon us to push a lot of that, as much of that, into the storm drains as possible. But again, the problem we have, and people should be alert to this, is that the storm drains around the city are frozen because the water in them has been frozen because it's been so cold for so long. You can't see it from from standing on the sidewalk when you're standing on the sidewalk, but know that what's in there is frozen. And so there is a little bit of a risk of flooding.
Now, are these things you ever thought about before 6 years ago, for example?
No.
How much water or ice is in the,
No.
the storm drain?
No, it's a great question. The answer is no. And dealing with snowstorms is as much of an art as it is a science. You really have to have a feel for it. And before you become mayor, you really don't have a feel for it. It's something that you sort of have to live through. And there are, we lived through a pretty intense set of storms back in 2015, right? 3 years ago now. It seems like yesterday. And that exposed, I think our guys performed very well and worked really hard. But it did expose some vulnerabilities, and we went back and refined the way we go about removing snow, and we bought new equipment. We use magnesium chloride now on streets, which is a much more effective melting agent. We built a new salt shed in the north end, so trucks wouldn't have to come from the north end all the way down to Chalmette Ave and back to their routes to put sand or salt down. So these are all, and many other steps, the way we supervise the routes, the number of routes that we have. I mean, it's all choreographed, and all the while as we operate implement a snow plan, we have to be mindful of the budget. So, like, what's interesting, just to give you an example, so when the two biggest expenses associated with snowstorms are the cost of the salt and other chemicals that you put down on roadways.
The product.
Right, the product, you got it. And overtime for the guys who are actually out there working. They certainly deserve the overtime for sure, but we also have to be, because they work really hard and very long hours, but we have to be mindful of what we're spending. So for tomorrow's storm, the good news from wearing my budget hat is that we probably won't be plowing until about 7 in the morning. We don't plow until it gets to be about 3.5 inches or so, and it won't hit that until about 7 when the regular shift starts anyway. So there won't be overtime. Now, right. I know, like, a lot of guys who are hearing this right now are like, "Oh, come on," and I get it, and they believe me, they work really hard, but that is a big expense that we have to be mindful of. Yeah.
All right, a whole lot of other things to talk about, including your announcement yesterday about more cameras and police security, healthcare, your budget address, but your inaugural address the other night. So let me take a break, and we'll kind of come back and reshuffle the deck here, and we'll get back. So we'll get a break out of the way. 508-996-0500. If you'd like to chat with the mayor, give us a call, and we'll do that as we continue on. Stay with us. All right, we're back with Midweek with the Mayor. Mayor Jon Mitchell is with us, beginning his fourth term in office. You were inaugurated on Monday, sworn in. Inaugurated? Is
Both.
that proper terminology? You were inaugurated. Yeah, right. That works, right?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Every now and then you say a word just doesn't sound right the way you're saying it, and you run it through your brain. It's like when you spell a word sometimes. You just sit there looking at it saying, that just doesn't seem right.
It's not often used as a verb.
Yeah,
but
okay.
it works.
All right, it works.
I think you're good.
Well, let's start with yesterday and work backwards, because you had a major announcement. What was billed as a quote major new investment in public safety.
Mm-hmm.
And, this was a press conference he had yesterday with the police chief and members of the city council about public safety cameras, the use of new cameras, and some other strategies. Is this an offshoot of the study that you've been telling us about that's been going on in the police department, the review of practices? Does this come from that?
A little bit of that, the informal feedback from that review, which, you know, the full review will be out in the next couple of months, and I think there'll be some more initiatives that emerge from that. Mm-hmm. But you know, I mean, both announcements, the one today and the one yesterday on cameras, emerged from, you know, the inauguration and my speech, which, you know, will be up on our website. And I would hope that just, you know, if you weren't able to make it or listen to it on WBSM, I just would ask everybody to take a couple minutes to read through it, because what I do try to take pains to, you know, sketch out where we are and really sort of make clear the vision for our city and what it takes to, you know, to achieve it. And that's what I think I should be doing as the mayor. And, you know, among the other things that we should be doing is, you know, we need to make sure that the most distressed neighborhoods in our city are not left behind. It's really important. So if we're talking about the area around Tallman Street or around Rue Street or in a couple of other places, you know, those neighborhoods have not kept up with the overall progress of the city. And, you know, in those places, as we've discussed so many times before, we have to start with the basics, which is public safety. So there were a number of things that we're doing and have been doing in those neighborhoods. We've intensified community policing. We've made some leadership changes in the police department to promote more community policing. We've really boosted our data analysis capability in the police department, and there will be more of that to come, but we want to make sure that in light of the data that we have about crime, that we're putting people in the right places. But I also think that there are technical improvements that could help us a lot too, and that one of them, the primary one, is putting cameras in the right places. So over the last few months, the police department has been working in the north end and the near north end on reconfiguring the entire digital platform for the camera network to make sure that it works all the time, that there aren't any glitches, and that the cameras are in the right place and are reliable and have, you know, create vivid images, right?
So people are actually monitoring these cameras, right?
They can and they do. Not all the time. There is, you know, there's a server that records, and so we can always go back to that. And if we have to produce video as part of a criminal case in court, we do that. But so in the north end, we're already in the midst of building out a much more modern camera network. Yesterday's announcement was about doing it in the other handful of distressed neighborhoods in the city where there's a disproportionate amount of criminal activity, and so it is the, you know, places like South First Street and Rue Street and a couple of other places, discrete neighborhoods that we want that should be part of the city's fabric. My concern is that people in those neighborhoods, especially the ones that have hung in there over the years, deserve to live just the way they do in your neighborhood and my neighborhood. You go out for a walk and walk your dog, let your kids out, and not have to worry about your own safety. It should be that way in every part of New Bedford. So that's what that announcement was about, and I appreciate the hard work of the city council to hear that through. And
some of the reaction that I was getting from callers yesterday was cameras are welcome, but they can't replace, very first caller, woman who calls you quite often here, can't replace the boots on the ground. And she doesn't feel secure with the cameras, an older woman. She feels more secure knowing there are actual police officers out there with guns that are going to take care of a problem. And that the cameras certainly can record activity that's going on, actually having somebody there to prevent the crime. And that seemed to be a common theme.
I don't disagree. I mean, it's not a substitute for police officers. It's a way of enabling police officers to do their job better, in effect, by being able to gather information in videotape form that allows them to go to court and put the bad guys away. That's really what it's about. I don't disagree. We have to have a very real police presence, and having cameras out helps them, but it's not an answer in and of itself.
Changes in station level leadership, does that mean the moving or replacing of people who have been in current leadership positions?
Well, we did that in the North End about 2 months ago. Amos Mello was installed as the captain in the North End, and I would think that most people who are in those neighborhoods that we're talking about around Tallman Street and Nye and Bullard and all along North Front would tell you, things are different. It's not to say that they're permanently different. It's to say the page has been turned, and we really need to sustain the effort that he's started, but he's doing a good job.
Do you anticipate any changes in the leadership level over the course of, I don't know, this year? Anybody coming, going, or any
that's the prerogative of the chief of police. He makes those decisions, and we have a very effective police chief who knows what he's doing and has a really clear sense of how to combat the problems and the handful of neighborhoods that we've been talking about.
All right. So you anticipate? Do you anticipate the chief sticking around for a while?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
so he's got your confidence.
He's a good police chief.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So sustained police presence over a multi-week period. We saw that happen with the North End after the.
Yeah, it just has to be sustained in those neighborhoods. Policing is by necessity an intense undertaking. The police have to be the presence of the police has to be felt. It just does. That requires, literally, when you think about it from a police officer's perspective, a lot of effort day in and day out. And I appreciate the work that our officers do in those neighborhoods in particular, because it's just more is expected of them, and they're delivering. But we've got to keep it up over a long period of time. It has to be institutionalized. Is
a concern when you saturate a neighborhood with surveillance like that or with coverage like that you just simply move the criminals to another?
So a little bit of that happens. Not all the criminals are that savvy. They're not. Thank God that
they're not listening right now. No.
They're not listening. They're not listening to your show. They're not. Some of that happens. They know where the cameras are, and so the cameras that we have can be moved to other places as well. But it's the idea that if they're moving, that's good. You're disrupting their activity. That is a good thing.
All right. You spoke on Monday night down at the Z as you were being inaugurated.
Indeed, after I was sworn.
After they all swore at you.
I was sworn in, but actually I wasn't sworn. I was swearing myself, not literally, not with 4-letter words, but saying I was taking the oath. I swear I will live up to this oath.
What a great game that was, though. Woo! I was rooting for Oklahoma,
so you have to,
right?
you have to
double
rub it in.
First time they ever went into overtime.
I watched the Alabama game afterward.
Yeah.
Went home, sat down on a couch, and turned on the football game after I gave my speech.
All right, so we've talked about it a number of times here, but one of the themes or one of the important points of your speech this week was the healthcare, employee healthcare. And you're going back to the council. You've been lobbying the council for some time now to bring this back up. You've handed me a presentation here. I assume this is the presentation that you've made to the council.
We were sorry that you weren't there today.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there. BSM was there. Tim was
okay.
Present. This is what we've been talking about for a while.
Yep.
You hear it all the time from your callers. I hear it all the time as mayor that taxes are too high. I agree, they are too high. And so if you talk, for instance, to business owners, they'll tell you taxes are too high for me. It's imposing, the tax rates here are imposing on my business. And I agree, they are too high for businesses. I talk to residents, obviously, all the time, people who own their homes, especially seniors, who say it's getting to be too much. And they're right. There are seniors who are living in single-family homes in this city whose taxes have gone up, and it's putting a squeeze on them, especially so many of them are on fixed income. So many of them aren't expecting to get some big paycheck at some point. And many of them are have means that are stretched right now. We've got to do something about it. And so people would come to me and say, "What are you doing about it?" This is what I'm doing about it. This is I proposed this last year to the city council. This is a measure, as you can tell by the map, that has been adopted by just about everybody else in the region in southern Bristol County, with the exception of Westport. It is, and it includes Fall River. And what it does basically is it allows the city or the unions to go to an arbitrator to set the terms of their health care plans. Right now, when we negotiate the terms of healthcare plans in the city, which are among the most generous healthcare plans among municipalities around, the unions can just say no, and there's nothing we can do about it. We're stuck with what they want in the way of healthcare plans. And it's not to say that our employees don't deserve good health coverage, but when the city's paying for 3/4 of it, it becomes very, and the other guy who's paying, the other side who's paying 25% says they want more, and they don't have to pay for it, and we can't force the change on them, then it becomes an unsustainable budgetary pressure. And when you look at what's driving taxes, this is it. It's healthcare. It's healthcare. It's healthcare and pensions and charter schools, but it's especially healthcare, and we've got to do something about it.
So
I don't want to be in a position where I'm going out and saying, you know what, we've got to close libraries and other things and fire stations and many and reduce services.
We've done that before.
Yeah, you can only do that so much, and have a city government that delivers what people expect. It's just this is one of the more painless things that we can do. It's a sensible approach. These other places, most of the municipalities in the state have done this. Fall River has done this. Our suburbs have done this. We need to do it. Unless people think that their taxes are just fine and they can spend more, or that we have too many services in the city and we've got to cut them, then this is our only option. So that's been my push all along, and some of the city councilors have come around to it. I hope more do, and I hope more realize that we can't be we don't have a lot of other levers to pull. We really don't.
When does this go before the council?
So it'll be submitted. It'll be submitted today, and it'll come up before the city council. I think it's January 11th, and at that point, this council will vote whether to refer it to committee. I'm not sure which committee it would be referred to, either ordinance or finance. That's up to them. And then it'll be put up to a vote in the committee and reported back out to the full council. So this will, I presume, will take place over the next few months. Last time it didn't even get to committee; the whole council shot it down. I hope that the council takes a really good look at this now and says, this is something we have to do. Everybody else has done it.
Have you done a head count at this point, or is it too soon?
I've been talking to councilors. Some have committed, some have not committed, some have remained in the middle, shall we say? But I think everybody should call their councilor and say, where are you on this? If you care about where taxes are going in the city, and I think everybody does, I certainly do, we need to talk to our city councilors about the need to do this. And it's not to say that the experience of these other places, Fall River and the other communities, the surrounding communities that have done it, what they would tell you is, no, it didn't affect a big change to the way that people, to the level of healthcare services that employees received. It did save a great deal of money for the municipalities.
Where does the savings come in? It requires the employees to contribute more to the overall plan?
Not necessarily. Sometimes it comes with higher copays and higher deductibles. Some of it comes in just not having, I use this term loosely, some people might call luxury plans. In other words, plans that offer services that people really don't need, but they're willing to buy them because the municipality is paying 75% of the premium for those plans. It's like anything else. If someone told you, look, I'll pay, I know you're in the market for a new car. I'll tell you what, I'll pay for 75% of it. You're likely to go out and buy, we'd all be a little more likely to go out and buy something bigger than we otherwise would buy, bigger and more expensive. It goes as it goes with cars and other things. It goes with healthcare as well, and we have to be mindful of that.
Some the same folks that'll call in and say, "Yeah, I want my taxes lowered." Tell Mitchell to lower the taxes when he's on the program next week. Will also call and say, "This is an attempt to balance the budget on the backs of the city employees," which they feel is wrong.
Yeah. So I have a very weighty responsibility to taxpayers in the city to spend their money responsibly. The city council has that responsibility as well. And there are times when you have to make tough decisions. In this case, this is not the toughest of decisions to make. There are much tougher decisions to make if we don't do this. So, and that's been the experience of these other communities. I'm pointing, so that everybody who's listening can understand what I'm doing. Let's hold that up. Hold that map up
right here. Yeah,
hold that map up for all the listeners. But basically, it's a map of southern Bristol County that shows which communities have adopted this provision in state law that requires negotiations to go to an arbitrator, negotiations for healthcare plans to go to an arbitrator if the parties can't agree. And it's just about everywhere in Bristol County, in southern Bristol County, except New Bedford and Westport. The budget drivers. So for people who are listening on over the internet, you can see what's driving the municipal budget. It's healthcare, and then it's also, to a lesser extent, pensions and charter schools as well, which are other subjects. And then you see, thank you, Barry. This is great.
Neat little graphs. I'm glad
this is wonderful. So Barry, the next graph that Barry is doing is best Vanna White impersonation. The next graph that Barry is holding up is one that shows the escalation in healthcare costs to the city, and the upshot of it is that it's gone up a lot. It's about $42 million now. It's an awful lot of money, and we've done all the efficiency steps that are available to us. We're not going to make ourselves so much more efficient that it's going to make that much of a difference. We get more efficient all the time. We've been very successful at it as a city government, but we reached a point where that's just not good enough.
If you are driving right now, and or maybe you're in the office and you're not able to watch us on YouTube, because we are broadcasting on our YouTube channel right now, and you can see this. It'll be on our YouTube channel later on when you get home, so you'll be able to look and you'll be able to see the chart. So check it out at the WBSM YouTube channel a little bit later on. Fred Kalish tried to do something like this. Remember?
This wasn't available. This law wasn't available when he was in. I think he tried to. He took other steps to reform healthcare,
right?
As did a lot of other folks.
Tried to switch to another plan, and I mean, he was the unions really gave him hell over it. I mean, if you remember what happened outside the Century House when the police union. Well,
I fully anticipate that the same's going to happen now. I mean, but we don't have a choice. I mean, it's nothing personal, and we want to make sure that our employees are well taken care of. They deserve good healthcare. But this is what I also have to look out for the city's taxpayers. I have to look out for the city's businesses. I have to look at, and along those lines, the competitiveness of our tax rates, for both businesses and residents. Someone might not want to live here or do business here if they thought their taxes are too high, and unfortunately that's happened. So we've got to take these steps. Everybody else has done it. Just about everybody else. So Dartmouth, Fairhaven, Acushnet, Fall River, they've all done it.
Is there a specific plan that your administration is looking at and saying this is what we'd like to go to from where we are now?
So in our discussions with the public employees, we've made proposals, but we want to work through it. We don't want to just sort of say, this is what you have to do, take it or leave it. We want to work with them to get to that point, but under current circumstances, they don't have to bargain in good faith. If they know they can just say, nah, forget it, we don't want to do it, then we're stuck. We are stuck. And that's why in adopting this provision of state law, if they say no, we can say, well, we're going to have to go to an arbitrator to solve it. And that usually forces the parties to a resolution. I mean, it's very rare for municipalities actually to go to an arbitrator but the actual threat of an arbitrator deciding for everybody is usually enough for the parties to say, all right, let's try to meet somewhere in the middle. But we can't do that now.
So the health policy that's offered to city workers is generally better than what you're going to find out there in the private sector. For most people, it generally is.
Yeah.
And so callers will call, because we've had this discussion many, many times over the course of callers will call in and say, well, look, we can't afford to pay city workers what they might make in the private sector, so we take care of them through health care. And if you take away their health care or reduce substantially their health care, then we're cheating them out of something. But what you're proposing to the unions at this point, is it a substandard policy? Is it?
No, it's not at all.
How does
the
it
city's
compare
still
to-
going to be paying 3/4 of it.
Okay, and it's still, by and large, beats what's being offered out there in the private sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, look at all these other communities. Anybody who, if there's anybody who, like me and you, think that taxes are too high in New Bedford, you have to ask the question, well, if all these other places are doing it, why not New Bedford? If the majority of municipalities in the state have done it, like, why can't we do it? If Fall River, if Dartmouth, if Fairhaven have done it, why not New Bedford? So, look, there are just points in time when we've got to make tough decisions. And what I would submit to folks is, yeah, this is not the toughest decision. The tougher decisions will come if we don't do this.
All right, we've got a whole bunch of folks that want to chat with you, so why don't we do that, because we're running short on time. 508-996-0500 is the phone number, and I'm not sure you're plugged in, Mayor.
Oh.
No, you're not. You got to plug it into the little hole there. There you go. We've just inaugurated you into a radio school. How's that?
Look,
you got it?
that.
Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you
All
now.
right, 508-996-0500. We'll start right over here. You are first on WBSM. Thanks for hanging on.
Oh, you're welcome. I have a question for the mayor. Is there such a thing where cities can join together, say New Bedford, Fairhaven, Dartmouth, increase the pool and get better coverage that way?
You would think so. I mean, it's a great question. So the answer is, under state law, I don't believe that we can do that.
Really?
Yeah, but what is available is the possibility of taking, our plan and putting into the state's plan, which is called the GIC, the Group Insurance Commission.
Oh, that's a good plan.
Right. So some municipalities have done that. We haven't done that, in part because we don't want to lose control of our healthcare plans, and it's good for. And I think the unions would say, yeah, we don't want you to send our plan over to the state because we'll all lose control of it. But we might have to do that at some point. We've found that there is savings in putting our insurance plan in the state plan. And as your question is getting at, when you have a bigger pool, you have greater buying power, and you can get a lower cost. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but that's another option for us on the table. I don't think the savings would be as great in pursuing that as it would doing this Section 21 provision that we've been talking about, and the unions certainly don't want us to go to the GIC.
I know Fall River was pursuing the GIC and then eventually wound up with just a better Blue Cross plan.
Right, and we've done that. We've changed plans, and look, we're not self-insured. So what that means is when we have a plan provider that's just an administrator of a plan, so whether it's Blue Cross, Blue Shield, or Harvard Pilgrim, their job is really just to run it, and not to insure it. So if some people have said, well, if you get a new provider in, is that going to change provider? If you get a new plan administrator in, is that going to save? And the answer is it could, but it's not going to be that much.
All right, you're next on WBSM. Good afternoon.
Okay, how you doing? I'm going to be real quick on this because I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm all for Mass General Laws, Chapter 32B, Section 21. To save our taxpayers some money. At the same time, when we do save the $5 million, I'd like to know, and so would a lot of people that have been asking me, will this money go back in the general fund, or is it going to be distributed so that some department head can spend it at his whim, or is it going to go back to Blair so he can redistribute that found money, that $5 million, back to the taxpayers in the form of a tax credit?
All right, good. That's a good question. Excellent, good question. So what does happen to the savings? Does that go back for property tax relief, or what?
It means that you don't have to raise taxes as much the next year, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Yeah, I mean, it's all general fund spending.
Okay, so the money, if there is a savings of $5 million, it's not like somebody hands you a $5 million check.
It means you don't have to. You don't have to spend. Yeah, if you save, well, just to pick a number. If you save $1 million by adopting this, that means $1 million that doesn't have to come off of people's tax. On $1 million comes off of people collectively. People's tax bills.
So, were we able to lower the tax rate by that amount?
Well, you would. I mean, it would do a couple of things. One thing it would do is it would actually. This gets a little complicated, but it would change the net school spending equation, right? Because it would effectively. I don't want to get too.
So we'd be able to channel more money over to education as opposed to. We often talk about the net school spending figure, right? So the amount of money we're required by state law to spend on education.
Right. Here's the way it's calculated. The state says this is your foundation budget. This is how much you have to spend, whatever it is, and that gets lowered by the expenses associated with running the school department that the city picks up. So that could be things like legal services provided by the city solicitor's office. It could be
even transportation,
whatever, right? So, but the biggest one is healthcare. So that gets deducted out of the school foundation budget, and so what you end up with is what's called the net school spending amount. So if you reduce the amount of money that the city spends on healthcare for everybody, including the school department, that net school spending number comes up, which means and because New Bedford has been spending right at that net school spending level, it would mean probably if there's more spending, it would probably end up in the school department, and then otherwise it's left for whatever other savings is out there. Gets left up to however it's decided by the city council or the mayor. It could be tax relief. And that's probably what it'll be.
All right, so it's probably too simplistic then to say that if we save $1 million on healthcare costs, that the tax rate automatically goes down by that.
It's not that it goes down; it just doesn't go up as much the next year.
The money gets distributed elsewhere.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
fungible money. It's just the result is we don't have to spend as much money on healthcare.
But the cost of net school spending goes up every year anyway, so you'd constantly be looking to reach that level, which would require new taxes. So if we were to have a savings in healthcare, you wouldn't have to. Because the money would be actually
spent on things other than healthcare for the school department. In other words, on teacher salaries and books and everything else that we spend.
So again, really simplistically, then there would be a fund there to do that with, as opposed to going to the taxpayers and saying that we need that. We'd have savings. There'd be some actual money there that you could say, hey, we didn't have to spend it on healthcare, so we can spend it on this.
Yeah. So in other words, if you save $1 million, some portion of that is going to go into the school department because of the way the net school.
So taxes wouldn't have to go up, but would taxes get lowered?
Well, it depends on what the other budget drivers are. If a charter school opens up in the city, or if there's some other if our snow budget is completely blown because we've had 10 snowstorms like the one we're having tomorrow, then the money gets spent on that. The bottom line is. We have to be working on reducing costs everywhere in city government to lighten the load generally on taxpayers. And the more that we do that, the better. The more in the long run taxpayers will be imposed on. At the same time, we obviously have to spend money on things that are needed. If we blow the snow budget, we're not going to say, we're not plowing this time. No, you've got to plow the snow, and that means that there's
and Mayor Ashley said, "God put it there, let him take it away." Was that him?
I don't think was it Mayor Ashley. Somebody said that.
Or was that Rosie Turney? I'm not sure which.
Somebody said that, much to his own regret. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who said that.
508-996-0500. You are on the air with the mayor. Go ahead. Good afternoon. Yeah, how are you? Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, that's going way back, yeah.
Hey, Graciano, how are you?
Wow. Yep.
Well, just stay on the line, Graciano, because I just, the good news is I think you might have a misperception about something. So, no. Well,
hang on, Graciano. Let him respond. Go ahead. Let him respond.
Yeah. I think he forgot. So here's so I would make this point. So he brought up the contribution split, right? The 75% that the city pays and the 25% the employees pay. And that's what it works out to be, and that's what's required of the city under current city ordinances. And in order to change that, it requires the unions actually to agree to it. Under what we're proposing, the adoption of Section 21, that doesn't change. What we're talking about, we're not talking about changing the contribution split, changing the fact that the city pays
50-50. That's what you're looking to do. 50-50. That's
no,
what
but that's not true.
That's not true. Okay.
That's not true, and we can't do it. That's not what this provision allows. And so I think there are a lot of folks in the police union and the fire unions who are worked up about this on a ground that is not valid.
Right,
well, hold on. Let me just complete the thought, Barry.
Yeah. We got about a minute.
So we can't. So the city can't, by adopting Section 21, change the contribution shares.
Okay.
What we can do is, and when we go to an arbitrator, if we have to go to an arbitrator, we should.
Hold on, Graciano. We got about 30 seconds left here.
Yeah, so I think people need to understand this, Barry. And I think all the unions need to understand this, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. There is a 75-25 split. That doesn't change at all.
Can you guys stick around for about another 5 minutes after the 1 o'clock news? Mayor, can you give me about 5 more minutes after the news, and we'll try to wrap this up?
I think I can, Barry, but not much longer than that.
All right, we'll do about 5 more minutes. I'm going to ask you guys to both hang on there. We'll get back to this right after the news. I do have to head into the newsroom. Obviously, a big storm brewing, and we got to get into the news. We've got the ABC News coming up, and then we've got the local news, and, of course, the ABC 6 Weather Center forecast. And that's all coming right at you. We'll be back with 5 minutes more with the mayor and the former police union president, because I want to give him a chance to respond, and we want to work out this whole point here about the city split versus the union split. So stay with us. 5 minutes more with the mayor right after this on WBSM.
From ABC News, I'm Scott Goldberg.
You solemnly swear that you will support.
That is the swearing-in ceremony that just cut the Republican majority in the U.S. Senate to 1 seat. 2 new Democrats joining the ranks.
Vice President Mike Pence swore in 2 new senators, Doug Jones of Alabama and Tina Smith of Minnesota. Jones bucked tradition and chose former VP Joe Biden as his escort for the occasion. Traditionally, new senators choose a colleague from their home state. And former Vice President Walter Mondale escorted Smith. Mondale did serve as a Minnesota senator in the 1970s. Megan Hughes, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Congress has a full agenda as it gets back to work, starting with a meeting this afternoon between Democratic and Republican leaders about their plans for the upcoming year.
The most time-sensitive of issues, striking a spending deal by January 19th to avert a partial government shutdown. Then there are the Dreamers, nearly 800,000 undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Lawmakers want to find protections for those dreamers after the president ended the DACA program last year. The president's now trying to blame Democrats, tweeting, "Democrats are doing nothing for DACA, just interested in politics."
ABC's Arlette Saenz. President Trump is tweeting again in support of the anti-government protests in Iran. There are now demonstrations happening in at least 10 cities. The president says he has great respect for the people of Iran as they try to take back their corrupt government. If you're flying to the southeastern U.S., airlines are offering waivers before the worst of a winter storm hits.
There is concern for the airlines that their passengers are going to be affected, so they are offering waivers. This means if you have a flight to the affected area in the southeast, all the airlines are saying, we won't charge you a change fee.
ABC's David Curley. The storm already dumped snow on Tallahassee, Florida, and parts of Georgia. Now it heads north along the East Coast. On Wall Street, stocks are trading higher. The Dow up 76 points. You're listening to ABC News.
After a rough day on the range, a feller can get a bit saddle sore. That's why I use Blue Emu
area in the southeast, all the airlines
cream. It works fast and penetrates deep to soothe my tired muscles and joints.
And he don't stink.
And I'll tell you one thing, I had no idea this stuff was so darn handy.
Blue Emu Original Super Strength Cream. Available at all major retailers. It works fast for long-lasting soothing of tired muscles and joints.
And you won't stink.
Learning where your DNA comes from with 23andMe.com might just inspire you to explore your connection to the world, like Kate. 45% of Kate's DNA is from the British Isles, so she took a little bike trip through Scotland. And 10% of her DNA is from North Africa, so she paid a call to Morocco. Order a DNA kit with 23andMe.com today and let your 23 pairs of chromosomes show you another way to experience the world. Get over 75 reports on ancestry, health traits, and more at 23andMe.com.
A parking ban has been announced for New Bedford ahead of the big snowstorm headed our way. I'm Tim Weisberg for WBSM News. The news at 1 brought to you by Match.com. It's currently 27 degrees and sunny. Your forecast from ABC6 is coming up. A major storm is tracking from the south up the east coast, bringing everything from heavy snow and ice to blizzard conditions and frigid winds.
Major storm is forecast to develop off the coast of Florida, pass east of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina later tonight, and then southeast of New England during the day tomorrow.
Meteorologist Rob Carolyn says the big, powerful storm will affect areas from Florida to Maine. He says snow and a wintry mix are set to continue along the southeastern coast of the U.S. through tonight. The impact in the northeast from snow and wind means slippery roads and airline disruptions from tonight through tomorrow night. The storm is expected to undergo rapid strengthening. Carolyn says blizzard conditions are likely on Long Island, New York, through eastern Connecticut and Massachusetts to northeastern Maine. New Bedford has announced its parking ban goes into effect at midnight tonight. During the ban, cars must park on the side of the street opposite fire hydrants. We'll have more details coming up from ABC6. 3 New Bedford men were picked up by police in separate instances Tuesday, all for drug possession. New Bedford police officers targeting street-level narcotic sales arrested 18-year-old Manuel Sandoval at 6:21 p.m. after police found him in the area of Crapo and Fair Streets in possession of 1.7 grams of heroin. More than 5 hours later, at Stop and Save Gas on Ashley Boulevard, police arrested 22-year-old Jose Vasquez, who was found to be in possession of 5.2 grams of fentanyl, 17 grams of cocaine, and $140 in cash. Vasquez had a previous conviction for possession of a Class A drug with intent to distribute in 2015. Also arrested at Stop and Save was 32-year-old Ryan Parker, who was found with a small amount of cocaine. All three face numerous drug charges. A city man is arrested on multiple charges after leading police on a short chase in a stolen car. New Bedford police observed the stolen vehicle being driven into the Stop and Shop gas station on Kings Highway just after 11 p.m. Tuesday. As they attempted to get the vehicle to stop, the driver shifted the car into reverse, spun around due to the icy pavement. The vehicle then drove back onto Kings Highway, spun around, jumped a curb, and struck a guardrail and continued to spin. Once the vehicle came to a stop, police removed the driver, 31-year-old Jose Furtado. Furtado was determined to be drunk and was placed under arrest. A traffic stop leads to the discovery of a New Bedford man in possession of drugs. Police stopped a vehicle in the area of 89 Campbell Street in New Bedford late Tuesday afternoon. Police determined the driver was operating the vehicle without a license. Police searched the man, 28-year-old Napoleon Tavares of New Bedford, and found prescription drugs, a small amount of cocaine, and about $1,000 cash on his person. Tavares was arrested and faces numerous charges. Bristol County Sheriff Thomas Hodgson says that, despite what inmate advocate groups might say, drug-sniffing dogs are a necessary tool for keeping narcotics out of prisons. The state's Supreme Judicial Court is set to consider this month whether or not the Department of Corrections overstepped its authority in implementing drug-sniffing dogs to screen visitors to prisons. Hodgson tells WBSM News that the safety of inmates and guards is his priority, and he doesn't believe opponents' claims that drug-sniffing dogs are demeaning to prison visitors.
I couldn't help but see one of the quotes by the prison advocate groups saying that these aren't people that are convicted and people don't want to be treated like suspects. Well, I don't think anybody in America wants to be treated like a terrorist either, but you do have to go through screening at airports.
Hodgson says the dogs just go down the line of those waiting to visit the prison and sit when they detect drugs on a person. That person is then pulled out of line and questioned. He says it is far less demeaning than when guards would have to examine inside people's mouths, or more thorough than when visitors would go so far as to hide drugs in babies' diapers to sneak them into the prison. News time now, 1:06 in WBSM Sports. The Celtics host LeBron James and the Cavaliers tonight. The Celtics lead the East at 30-10, and the Bruins host the Panthers tomorrow night. Now let's take a look at your local forecast from ABC6.
Mostly sunny conditions expected today. Temperatures a little bit warmer than where we've been at. We're looking at highs in the upper 20s to near 30 degrees. A blizzard warning goes into place at 1 o'clock in the morning. We have snow moving into the area by dawn tomorrow, some mixing for the Cape and the islands, and we see heavy snow falling all day long. On top of the heavy snow, we're looking at incredibly gusty winds, 50 to 60 plus miles per hour out of the north to the northeast, and all about 8 to 12 inches of snow will likely accumulate. Snow tapers off through tomorrow evening. From the ABC6 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chelsea Priest on New Bedford's News Talk Station, 1420 WBSM.
27 degrees under sunny skies. I'm Tim Weisberg for WBSM News. The news at 1 brought to you by Match.com. We update news throughout the day on New Bedford's News Talk Station, 1420 WBSM, and online at WBSM.com.
All right, welcome back to the program just after 1 o'clock. As a matter of fact, 1:08 is our time on a sunshiny, beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Don't let it fool you. Snow is on the way, and we'll continue to monitor that with the ABC6 Weather Center throughout the day, and, of course, right through the storm to keep you posted. We have got the mayor with us for an extra 5 minutes today. We do, of course, midweek with the mayor from noon until 1 on Wednesday afternoons. Just before the top of the hour, we had a call from Graciano Pereira, who used to be the police union president, and engaged the mayor in a discussion on the plan that the mayor has for seeking approval in the city council of, I think it's 2321, which would allow the city to seek arbitration if it can't come to an agreement with the unions on changing healthcare policy for city workers. The mayor has maintained that this is the only way that we can find relief for the budget, is to renegotiate and get an arbitrator and go in a different direction with the current plans. Graciano said out in Quincy, they tried this. It didn't work. They repealed it. And he says the administration is trying to go from the current 75-25% split to a 50-50 split. So I'm going to ask the mayor to address those concerns, and then we'll go back to Graciano. Mayor, what do you make of all that?
Yeah, so I understand why union members don't want to pay more in health care. Nobody would, but we understand also that taxpayers have been put upon in our city, and we've got to make changes. And what we're proposing to do is something that virtually every other city in this region has already done, which is to avail ourselves of the possibility that if we can't come to terms with the unions, that an arbitrator can decide. As it stands now, the unions can say no to our proposals, and we're stuck with them. And because the city pays, we, the taxpayers, pay 3/4 of the bill, it gets really expensive. Now, Graciano, whom I respect a lot, mentioned a couple of things that I think need to be clarified. One is that the city is trying to change that contribution split, the 75-25 share between the city and employees for healthcare premiums. That is not the case, and that is, in fact, that is not something that this law allows anyway. So,
can an arbitrator do that? If you went to an arbitrator and said, we want to go from 75-25 to 50-50, can the arbitrator do that?
The answer is no.
The arbitrator is not allowed to do that.
Arbitrator can't do that. And we'd be happy to, as I told you off air, we'd be happy to supply you with the legal background, the legal substantiation of that point, where that's not allowed. So I think that'll come as, I think, a point of relief for many union members who are worrying about these things. The city will still pay 75% of your health care premiums if this is adopted. The other thing he mentioned is Quincy, and while we were off the air, I got some information about that. Now, as I mentioned, most of the communities in the state have done this because they realize that this is really the only way that you can effectively control healthcare costs, and New Bedford is very late to the game. Quincy, it turns out, was exploring something different, which is, as we had discussed on an earlier call this afternoon, taking its healthcare plan into the State Group Insurance Commission, and decided not to do that. that option is already available to New Bedford. We've decided not to do that. The unions have said that they don't want to do that. We've agreed with them up to this point. But we're talking now about something very different. This doesn't have to do with the Group Insurance Commission. This has to do with whether we can agree on the terms of a plan that is administered by the city. And as it stands right now, we haven't. We have a situation in which when we negotiate, the unions can say no, and without an arbitrator, we're stuck.
All right, let's give Graciano Pereira a chance. Graciano, thanks for hanging with us. So how do you react to what the mayor's saying? He said there's no plan to go to a 50-50 split, and that an arbitrator can't do that anyway. So how do you respond? Yeah. All right, so Graciano, the biggest concern. All right, so your biggest concern then is a greater cost of the copay and hospital visits. But nobody can change the 75-25 without that actually.
Yeah, so that's not true. So I'll tell you what.
Right, hold on 1 second, Graciano.
You gotta. So the public. No. So no. All
right, hold on. Let him address that point, Graciano. Then I'll give you a chance to respond. Just hold on a minute. Go ahead.
So yeah. So again. So I'm glad he acknowledges that that I'm not trying to change the 75-25 split, and I'm glad he acknowledged that as I just mentioned that what Quincy was doing was to put the plan in the Group Insurance Commission. That's a very different matter. On the last point, that I can somehow change the split with retirees, that's not true. And so maybe he has a misunderstanding of the law. And I'll tell you what, maybe if we can go ahead and give you sort of the legal background on this, Barry, so you can settle it. And
well,
we'll also
what
provide
protection do the retirees have? Are they
you can't change. So the retirees are in the same. They're in the same public employee committee as current employees.
So they're under the same verbiage in the contract.
And that split cannot change without an affirmative vote of the public employee committee. The public employee committee is comprised of representatives of all the unions in the city. Yep. And the retirees. The 75-25 contribution split cannot be changed in the absence of an affirmative vote of that committee.
All right. Just one quick, go ahead, Graciano. So the mayor says that can't happen to the retirees. Was that a misunderstanding?
No, it's not a misunderstanding, Barry. If the city adopts a 21-23, that 21-23 effectively dissolves the PEC committee. He doesn't have to come to us for anything. Why would he not have the authority to go 50-50 on the retirees if there's no PEC committee? Because 21-23 dissolves that committee. He doesn't have to come to us anymore. And that arbitration he's talking about, it's 2-1 stacked against labor. So who do you think is going to win in that fight?
Yeah, so
there's 3 people on that committee, we were told yesterday. 2 are management, 1 is labor.
So I don't think so a couple of things. So the adoption of Section 21 to 23 does not dissolve the Public Employee Committee. Again, the public deserves the facts, and we will provide you with chapter and verse on this, Barry. So when you get calls and people assert things like this,
it effectively dissolves that committee, because you have no reason to come to us, man.
Well, wait a minute. It does or it effectively does. I mean, there's a big difference there.
Yeah, it effectively does. Effectively does. He can just come say, we're doing this. Well, can we sit down and talk about it? No. But please, no. Okay,
but hold on, Graziano. The mayor just said that the arbitrator can't change that split, so he can't just effectively overrule the committee then.
But there is no committee. Effectively, there is no committee.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lost here.
I will get you information to it. There's a lot of just like the scare tactics about having to close libraries and everything. He's trying to either he doesn't have the votes on the council to do this, so now he's trying to unfortunately scare the public into closing libraries and schools and fire stations and whatnot to get it's not like I said, in the most vulnerable of our employees, the retirees who make over half. There are 945 retirees, all who make less than $20,000 a year.
But they're not protected under the existing contract language.
Barry, if I can, you asked me to stay longer for the show.
All right, yeah.
So can I
go ahead, Mayor. We'll let you last word,
and
and then you can go, and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the answer is no. This doesn't dissolve the Public Employee Committee. Again, the 75-25 contribution cannot be changed without an affirmative vote of the Public Employee Committee, and the retirees are on that committee. That's not going to happen. And there's no scare tactics here. I'm not saying anything that's scaring anybody. What's scaring people are their tax bills.
So he's saying the committee is effectively resolved. It's not effectively resolved? The committee stays under 23-21 or 21-23? The three-member committee?
What Section 21 does, it creates the possibility that either the unions, not just the city, but either the unions or the city can go to an arbitrator and say, you know what, we're not getting a fair offer here. As of right now, we can't do that. And because we pay most of it, the city taxpayers pay 75% of it, it's much easier for the other guy to say no. So that's the problem. That's the inherent problem. I'm not engaging in scare tactics. I'm just calling it what it is. I'm doing the same thing that the majority of the leadership in the majority of the cities and towns around the state have been doing and have done over the last few years. New Bedford is late to this game. It's not me engaging in any scare tactics at all. It's the tax bills that go to taxpayers that are scaring people, and I'm trying to do my job and respond to it. I have the weighty responsibility of spending their money responsibly, and I'm doing exactly what they'd expect.
All right, let me wrap it up here. Mayor, thanks for sticking around a little bit long. Appreciate it. Graziano Pereira, appreciate your calling in, and this is not the last that we've heard about this subject. We're going to talk a lot more about it between now and the time this goes before the council. Let me take a break, and we're going to catch up with that, and we're going to come right back with your calls on what you just heard, 508-996-0500. Stay with us. We'll be right back.